GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man Jay Rich.
Yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? Let's get it, GMGP. It is Feel Good Friday. It is Freaky Friday. It's F Something Up Friday. Waking y'all ass up with Ray and Jay. Give me the air horns, Jay. Appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear in the building. Rams, Vikings last night. We got all 32 teams playing this weekend in the NFL. College football, rookie stuff, dynasty, midseason fantasy football, and usage. Yes, we're going to talk about it all this morning, and I got the squad in the building. What's popping with you, Richie, A-Train, Patty Pacheco. GMGP to you, Patty Pacheco. Yeah, let's get that up there. GMGP, happy Friday. What's going down, A-Train? I love the picture right there with the GOAT, with the king. Jordan Baker in the building. Jimbo, Dynasty Noob, Ryan, Rhonda Commander, JB, Eric, Brian, Richie Garrison, Colin, my dog Marcus Myers, Rico, Dynasty Rehab, Gump in the building, and a lot more. Jay Rich, how you doing this morning, big dog? We got a lot to talk about, so I don't even want to play around. How you doing, baby?
I am doing great, my friend. I'm doing great. So I will save you my story then, and I won't bother telling you.
No.
because I
Hit
had
us with
something.
the story. Hit us with a good story. It's early, man. It's early. We can all use a good story before we get into it. What's the story?
So yesterday I was sitting on my couch, right? And I got a random phone call. And I was like, who is calling me from this random number? So I didn't answer. And then I got a text and they said, if you're not a coward, you're going to answer this phone call. And they called me back. And I was like, all right, cool. So I answered the phone call and it was Kyler Murray on the other end. And he said, Jay Rich, I've been watching the Wake Up Show. And I don't appreciate your slander of me. And I was like, you know what, Kyler, I appreciate that. I appreciate you talking to me like a man. But then he said, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. And he said, if I can get to Toronto in an hour, he would fly me to New Zealand first class so I could play the new Call of Duty. And so that's what I did. And here I am. I made it back. Time zones doesn't matter. Me and Kyler, we got busy yesterday on COD, Ray. And I'm back for the show. Excited to talk some football.
Jay.
Yeah.
Get off the screen. You took 5 minutes to talk about
That was a
playing Call of
2-minute
Duty.
story.
To talk about just say the Call of Duty game came out, you were playing it. I don't know where the hell you were going
There's
with
no
that, man.
theater in that.
I've got no idea where you were going with that story, but we appreciate you being in the building and wasting 3 minutes of our time. If you guys are new to the channel, we have a good time. Hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, comment below, and check out all the other dope creators on the channel. Shane Says talked about Rashid Shaheed and other injured players, how to trade them, move them, manipulate them in your dynasty rosters, dynasty leagues. Check out Shane Says as well as the 3-man Dynasty Theory crew, Mitch, John, and Dan Lamagna. Make sure you check out those guys on the channel, and we'll see if Jay Rich is, I don't know if that was a story, a joke, or what, but it was not good. We'll see if he's got it together for the straight
Only one
facts.
person needs to get it. Only one person needs to get it, and I'm good.
Okay, all right, let's get into the news.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
All right, everybody. So now that we got the pleasantries out of the way, it's time to get to the important stuff, and that is the news that has been disseminating over the past few days. So let's get right into it, starting with Diontae Johnson, who is once again not practicing. I mean, I can't blame him because Bryce Young is starting this week.
Oh, boy.
And so if I was Diontae Johnson and I was dealing with some injuries, I would not want to play either. He still is a player that I believe should be traded, but is seeming unlikely to play this week. Now, I did want to point out that he did miss practice last week as well. And so there could be some opportunities for him to be healthy finally. But if I'm him, man, I am sitting out. Ray, I know you're very excited because when we get to our not so obvious starts of the week, you have a player from this team in your list. But I have some bad information for you, my friend. While Bucky Irving has not practiced so far, the Tampa Bay Times beat reporter Rick Stroud was told his toe is quote unquote trending well. And so he may be available this week.
The toe expert.
Similar
toe expert. There we go.
He is apparently a long-tenured beat reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was told that it's apparently trending well. And if you recall last week, he also didn't practice but was able to play in the game. Zay Flowers, your boy, back-to-back DMPs, which is not good for him because that means he might not be available in this game, but it would be good for everyone who has Rashad Bateman. Tyreek Hill says to fire up the band and start him this week in fantasy because Tua Tagovailoa is back. Tyler Huntley is still injured. And I think that Skylar Thompson was also back to practice, but we don't care because we only care about Tua, and Jalen Waddle as well, who's dealing with a quad injury, was practicing as well. A lot of players coming back to practice this week, which was great for us. Another big one, Ray, Jonathan Taylor. Fire up your Colts this week, baby, because JT is back. A-Rich is healthy. Pittman's practicing. Downs is practicing.
Yes.
I'm still not firing them all up, but it's looking a little bit better with JT to help bring in those defenses and stack the boxes a little bit more. Debo and Kittle were back to practice, but Jawan Jennings was absent, so we'll see his status. He potentially could miss this week as well. DK Metcalf, back-to-back DMPs. We are not expecting him to play as it stands right now, but we'll see if that will change. Will Disley was a DMP along with QJ, Quentin Johnston, and Ladd McConkey. McConkey was dealing with the hip injury last week, but he could be available, similar to what happened this past week where he didn't practice pretty much the whole week, but was available for the game. Derek Carr didn't practice, so we will see Spencer Rattler for the Saints. Calvin Ridley didn't practice, but you don't really care about that. Allen Lazard probably also going to be out this week if you're hoping to start him in this game against the Patriots. DeAndre Hopkins will be active in this game against the Raiders for the Chiefs. Andy Reid said, why wait when it comes to starting DeAndre Hopkins? And honestly, for me and fantasy, I'd be starting him because the Raiders are awful. We also have to monitor Jacoby Myers on the other side. He practiced on Wednesday in limited fashion, but was a DMP on Thursday. A lot of reports are indicating it was just rest, and it's not indication he was downgraded or he suffered a setback of any kind. And last but not least, Trey, we had a game last night between the LA Rams and the Minnesota Vikings, and we saw the return of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. After the game, Sean McVay acknowledged that there have been calls about Cooper Kupp, but he's really glad to have him back and expects things to stay that way. And it makes sense considering he caught a touchdown after getting a big victory over the Vikings yesterday, leaving the Minnesota Vikings now at 5-2.
Yeah, back-to-back losses for the Vikings, and we'll talk about that game. We'll talk about Puka, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. News-wise, yeah, if Bucky Irving plays, I would play Bucky Irving. I don't think that, and we'll talk about Carolina shortly, I don't have a lot of confidence starting anybody from the Panthers outside of Chuba Hubbard in this matchup. And Aaron Rodgers, I'll just say he was limited in practice back-to-back days with hamstring, but looks like he's probably going to give it a go. And leading into the Thursday Night Football game, did you see what Sean McVay said in his post-game press conference about Puka Nacua? So he says, and I just like this quote, McVay, what did he say? Where's it at? Where he said, where's it at in the notes, Jay? Where's it at? What did McVay say? About
it was
Puka?
In there. I saw it
Did
in
you
there.
take it out? Did you take it out?
Oh, he said, once you tease me, you're going.
Yeah, once you tease me. Once you tease me, we're going. You're going all the way. I think that's something like that. Once you tease me, we're going all the way. He absolutely did that with Puka Nacua. Don't be around Sean McVay and teasing him if you ain't trying to go all the way. Don't do that, Jay Rich. I know you like you some McVay, but don't do that. Do not tease him, baby. But let's talk about it. Minnesota Vikings 20, the LA Rams 30. Hey, Rich, I'm listening to all the big-name analysts before the game. Everybody picked the Rams. I think there was one analyst on the Amazon Prime, and I like their pregame show. Just want to put that out there. that picked Minnesota. This is back-to-back losses for the Vikings, and it kind of keeps the Rams
alive
in the mix, right? Alive. That's a good way to put it. Let's start with the winning side, the Rams. This was by far Matthew Stafford's best performance of the season. He was cooking, Jay. I mean, I believe Stafford only had 3 touchdowns coming into this game, and then leaving the game, he had 4. So, I mean, he had more output in this one game than he had the entire season, and it absolutely helps getting back Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, having the whole squad together. Stafford was awesome. 25 for 34, 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception on 73.5% completion percentage. Stafford was surgical, and his primary target, surprise, surprise, it did not look like after Sunday night, Jay, that we would get Puka Nacua in this matchup. But as Sean McVay said, he teased him a little too much in practice, so he had to go ahead and get in that game. Puka Nacua was awesome. Led the way with 9 targets, 7 receptions, 106, 55 yards after the catch. You saw it with the second one, because the first one he dropped.
Yeah.
But the second one, you saw that run after the catch, missed tackle, break tackle ability, and he looked a lot fresher than Cooper Kupp to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when you talk about Cooper Kupp versus Nacua, there's the age factor. Cooper Kupp's a little older, savvy veteran. I thought both played great. Like, if you started either one, you should have been happy. Obviously, starting Puka was a little bit more difficult, granted, considering how it trended, and it was, maybe he can play on Tuesday, and Wednesday it's like, he's going to maybe give it a go, and then Thursday, midday, he's just playing. And based off a lot of the past similar instances, player wouldn't have played. And so it was interesting to see him play, and especially the volume which he played. I haven't seen his snap share yet, but I would imagine it's quite high, and obviously led the team in targets, yards, and receptions, which was great for Matthew Stafford. Now, when you talk about Stafford, I heard this on one of Mayo's shows. Rob Pizzola talked about how he didn't really like the Vikings, even though a lot of people feel like they're the obvious betting side, right? They weren't heavy favorites, even though they're on the road, right. And it's because Stafford shreds zone defenses. And you look at what happened in this game. They played zone defense. They blitzed him a ton, and he was able to get the ball out to his playmakers. And this is why I love Matthew Stafford. Fantasy is tough because he's going to have a few dud games here or there. But when he has all of his weapons, we've talked about the success rate from Kyren Williams, and having Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, this team can be great and put up a ton of points. The defense is a problem, but for fantasy purposes, they're going to need to score to win games. And based off McVay's comments in the postgame, it seems like they're going to continue to work on this team and develop it further to potentially make some kind of playoff run. Because you look at Seattle right now, they're reeling, and they have to go to Buffalo. And then you also look to San Francisco. They can't buy a victory right now.
The Rams have already beaten the Niners. Right now, San Francisco was 4th in the NFC West based on, wins and losses.
Because they lost to Arizona and the Rams.
Yeah. Let's talk about, really quickly, Cooper Kupp, 5 for 51, 1 touchdown. Did you happen to catch the pregame interview between he and Andrew Whitworth, where he was kind of talking about blocking out the trade chatter, the noise? Maybe this win motivates them to keep him around a little longer, but just the reality of the situation, they don't appear to me to be a true Super Bowl contending team. Cooper Kupp is what? How old is he at this point? Like 30 years old? 31 for Cooper Kupp. He'll be 32 at the start of next season. I think it would behoove them to potentially send him to a team that is desperate of a wide receiver, that is trying to compete and contend. But I think this win against the Vikings might encourage Les Snead and the Rams to continue to go for it. Demarcus Robinson also annoyingly had 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yep.
Can Puka just get one of those? Just give one to Puka, and he's got a monster game. But the player that I really want to talk about, Jay, for a few minutes is running back Kyren Williams, because in my opinion, he is the best offensive player that the Rams have. He's just, for everything that he is not, 6'2", 220 pounds, highly drafted running back, ultra athletic physical specimen. When I watch him, you can't tell me he's not a top 5 running back in the league. He's out there handling 85, 90% of the work week in and week out. Receiving game, between the tackles, pass protection. He's smooth, he's efficient, he does his job. I am a big fan of Kyren Williams, Jay. And, we don't get everything right around here, but OGQ, what was this, back in 2022, Jay Rich, I said my favorite offensive player in the 2022 NFL draft class was Kyren Williams. And it was because of his skill set. It's a true 3-down skill set. I think his rushing style, I talked about this on a couple of film breakdowns, it's very reminiscent, not as dramatic as this running back did it because he was the best at this type of rushing style, but he's got a little bit of that Le'Veon Bell type patience to his running game. He just glides, he finds the holes. Kyren Williams, RB what in the NFL? What do you think he is? And I don't want this, I think this guy could be that. Right now, just carrying the rock, where do you think he ranks amongst NFL running backs?
Talent or situation independent or no?
I would
probably I'd probably give him 6 or 7. I don't think he's the most talented running back in the league, but he's in probably one of the best situations, period. You talk about the 3-down skill set. I was going to bring up how he scored a touchdown almost every single game in the past 2 seasons. There's only been 3 games he hasn't scored in games where he was active, right? So for fantasy football purposes, the dude is an absolute monster. But you know, if you talk about the high end skill sets, maybe you go to a Bijan, a Brees, a Gibbs, all those guys. Maybe Kyren is still better than them.
Nah. That's the bullshit that the fantasy community talk. This high end skill set. You know what the high end skill set is? Him being a dominant rusher in the NFL for back-to-back seasons. That's the high end skill set. That and that ain't to you, Jay. But we've got to stop tossing around these terms and not understanding what they mean. Like, that is the high-end skill set. Commanding 90% of the LA Rams backfield touches and being on pace to score 20-something touchdowns, leading the league. There is your high-end skill set. And I think, you know, Colin put a thing in here right here. He said, we need to rethink RB? Kyren and Bucky were up there before Combine, then plummeted, but get into leagues and smash. Combine overrated? It's a data point which influences draft capital, right? It's a situation, it's an event, it's a process that influences draft capital. And yes, to a degree, that draft capital is going to yield opportunity. The higher you're drafted, you're probably going to get chances to get on the field and play. I just think there are situations where once you see a player be very successful in an offense, like I'm just not going to fade those type of situations, especially when they've done nothing to really upgrade it. And Blake Corum has been an awful pick at ADP because there is no split. There is no timeshare. It's all Kyren Williams. I think he's a top 5 running back in the NFL. Other side of the ball, Sam Darnold, his stat line looks really good. 240 yards, 72% completion percentage. He did get hosed at the end. Absolutely got hosed at the end. That was a clear face mask call. We don't know if Minnesota would win the game, but they should have had an opportunity to try to drive the ball downfield. Aaron Jones really couldn't get a lot cooking on the ground, and they tried. This Rams defense has been pretty damn bad against the run, but Minnesota could not get it going in this matchup. And outside of Justin Jefferson, there was nothing. 2 targets. Outside of Justin Jefferson, the next leading pass catcher received 2 targets. There was a tie between Aaron Jones, Josh Oliver, Jalen Naylor, and Jordan Addison. That's a problem. When Naylor, Oliver, Jones are right up there in targets, Jay. Receptions with receptions, all 2 receptions apiece. They need Hawkinson back, and it looks like week 9, he's eyeing a week 9 return. And my question to you is, back-to-back losses. Vikings and Sam Darnold were riding sky high. He's not turning the ball over. He's not stinking it up like Sam Darnold of the past, but a little bit of faltering in the second half. When does the shine wear off of Sam Darnold? When does the shine wear off? Because he needs to finish the season strong to get another opportunity at a starting job, which I think he will. But just where are you at with him now? Back-to-back losses. How do you think the temperature check is on Sam Darnold?
I mean, the good thing for Sam Darnold right now is that, while I would say it's pretty hot for him, he's got the Colts next week, he's got the Jags the week after that, and then the Titans. So he's got a pretty good 3-week stretch where he can kind of show once again the quarterback he can be, put up 2-3 touchdowns a game, be very efficient. But I've kind of been talking about this for the past few weeks, how while he's played well and the numbers look good, when you watch the games, it just doesn't seem like it's quite right. It doesn't seem like they're really firing on offense. And you kind of see that. Once again, they got out to a 14-point lead, or 14-7 actually, a big lead early in the first quarter. And then they falter the rest of the game, and they're trying to work their way back, and Sam's able to make some throws, but it just isn't quite enough. And you're right, they got hosed at the end of that game. But at the same time, like, did I really believe Sam Darnold was going to drive him down the field and win the game? Absolutely not. Even against this Ram defense, they did play pretty well. So I think the problem is that you have a quarterback who's pretty good, clearly limited skill set. When he's over 2.5 seconds, he's only completing percentage drops to like 55% for 72. All of his picks are when he's extended trying to make a play. And I think that's the biggest issue with Darnold. When he's under center, in control, getting the ball out of his hands quick, he's great and can be an efficient quarterback. When things break down, all things fall apart, and he gets those bad habits, and he reverts to the old Sam Darnold. So I think that's the biggest problem, is if you're a Vikings fan right now, you felt good about the team, but it seems like he's not a player that can overcome a day where the defense isn't at their best.
Yeah, I think Hawkinson coming back definitely will help Sam Darnold, help that offense out. It's kind of stunk for Jordan Addison. He's been banged up this season. I know he hasn't been 100%, but that was a second-year sort of player that we were hoping could take a leap or continue to progress next to Justin Jefferson. Had a comment in here about running backs. It's from Drew Sorensen. What's up, Drew? What's popping with you, Drew? Hey, Drew, what about that Terry McLaurin, man? Drew be getting on my dog Ty to clear over that McLaurin. McLaurin been pretty damn good, Drew. But Drew said, who's the better RB longer, Saquon or Kyren? Can Kyren be a longer play into next year, or can Saquon? What are your thoughts,
I like
Jay?
them both.
Yeah, I like them both.
I
don't
like
them both.
Yeah, I think it's hard to choose. It's hard to not choose Saquon because of how good he is, but it still seems like Kyren's the better answer for fantasy. Right? Like, he's just going to be the guy. I kind of expect Stafford to be back.
Philly is different. Saquon, where he's at now, is different. He's been awesome for fantasy. He's been incredible. It's just the volume. Like, this is Sean McVay's version of Todd Gurley.
This is Todd Gurley.
And we spent all summer saying that there's no way he can do this again. There's no way he's getting 80%. We were talking 80% of the work. He might be on pace for even more utilization this year. I'll just say this. I'm just going to enjoy him while I have him because he is taking a lot of punishment. We know he's not the biggest running back. I don't even want to think about what he could be a year or two from now, but right now, here in the 2024 season, hell yeah, I would love to have Kyren Williams on my roster again. Top 5 running back for me. Anything else from this game, Jay, that you want to touch on? And this is why you looked at this matchup. The Vikings defense, it's so elite. You can't do anything. And I'm like, you know what? Like that. I think against shitty teams, that really does play. Like if this were Vikings versus Panthers, right? Then I'm all in on the defensive data. But when you're going up against a team that can throw, like good offense is probably going to beat good defense. So I don't really care about like those type of matchups when you've got elite type players and offenses that can move the ball. So hopefully you played your Rams. Hopefully you did not play too many of the Minnesota Vikings. And we are actually, Jay, because I want to get to our not so obvious starts of the week. I think there's some good names in here to talk through. So let's go ahead and run up the likes real quick, man. We got almost 600 people in the building on a Friday. We know it picks up as we go. Hit that thumbs up button, like the comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me and Jay grow. We'll be right back after the break. Appreciate y'all pulling up with me and my boy Jay Rich. Wake up with Ray and Jay here on this Friday, talking through some of the matchups, our not so obvious starts of the week. If you're new to the channel, hit the thumbs up button, like, comment, and subscribe. Jay, not so obvious quarterback starts of the week.
Tell him,
Who you
Ray.
got, Jay? Who you got, baby? Your boy. I can't believe you're talking about your boy right now. Let's go.
Hey, come on. Yeah, so this one was tough for me. I thought about going Geno Smith. I wanted to go to
time out. Before you start, we're not going to talk about Josh Allen. We're not going to say start Lamar Jackson. We're not going to tell you to start Joe Burrow, right? Yes, fire those guys up. We're talking about some players where you're in between, right? You're down between damn Gardner Minshew and Jameis Winston. We're going to talk through some not so obvious guys that could outperform their ECR, expert consensus ranks. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so I thought about going with Geno or going with Tua. Tua's a guy I would definitely be starting, but the player I think that people should be considering a little bit more is none other than my boy out of Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, Ray. The biggest reason why I like this game is for a few different reasons. One, I love the Green Bay Packers. Not apologetic about it. Everybody knows. I would start every single Packer in this matchup. Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs, start them all. On the other end, Trevor Lawrence needs to throw the ball to keep them in this game. This is a 50-point over-under highest on the slate, and T-Law has been playing better. Whether you realize it or not, he has been playing better. We've talked about how the Green Bay defense is very strong against the run. They weren't as strong this past week, but typically they are fairly strong against the run, and if LaFleur dials up a lot of shot plays like I fully expect him to do, the Jags will be down early in this one. I think you could potentially look at starting Gabe Davis. I didn't want to make him my not-so-obvious start, but I think there could be some potential there. But I really do think T-Law will have to run and pass his way back into this game if they're going to stay competitive. Now, the question is, do you believe that? I personally do. I could see 60-plus points in this game pretty easily and 20-25 from Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think their implied team total is 24 in this matchup. 50-point total. They're 4-point dogs at home. So if the game theory is, as you suggest, which I'm with you, and I don't think you were being funny, I would start every single offensive Packer player not named Emmanuel Wilson. Jacobs, Love, is Watson playing? I'm starting all 4 receivers. It's a 50-point total. Is this the highest? Yeah. Is this the highest total on the weekend?
Yeah, highest on the slate right now.
Yeah.
It's 49.5, 50, depending on where you look. And it's going to go up.
You're talking about implied 23, 24 points from Jacksonville and their underdogs. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to throw the ball. They're probably not going to be able to lean on the ground game and just grind it out with Tank Bigsby. I like the call. He also can go out there and launch a bunch of picks, but I do like the call, Jay. My not-so-obvious QB start of the week, it should be quite obvious because he's been very, very good the past 2 games. And, Jay, you have his jersey on. I am rolling out Drake May with full confidence versus the New York Jets. Full confidence. The 2-5 Jets take on the 1-6 Pats. Drake May will be at home, 41-point total in this matchup. But what I've loved about Drake May, it doesn't matter the time, it doesn't matter the location of the game, it doesn't matter the receiver. They're doing more with this young quarterback to see what they have in him for the future. He has been a top 10 quarterback back-to-back weeks. He's getting it done through the air. His completion percentage is good. He's learning. He's growing. And this is a team that just got cooked by Russell Wilson in his first start of the 2024 season. This is not the same Jets defense that we have known to love and fear in years past. They still blitz. They still get after it. But I think Sauce Gardner, a tad bit banged up. I saw a report that DJ Reed also might be banged up in this one as well. Yeah, Jay, I still think in a difficult matchup, Drake May can find success for us in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, obviously. It's tough against this Jets defense. To the point about DJ Reed, he did get in a walkthrough on Wednesday, so he's probably going to be available. As you mentioned, Sauce Gardner was banged up. Reed did miss last week. But I still just feel like this defense isn't what it was after Robert Saleh left. Now, of course, someone brought up in the chat how Saleh was at Packers practice, which I don't love that because he's a pretty good DC. But overall, I'm totally with you. May could have a really good performance. Again, a player who may have to play a bit of catch-up in this game, even against the Jets. Like, the Jets are weird. I wanted to go with Rodgers as my not-so-obvious start because he's playing the Pats. He's like QB 20 on a lot of rankings. Should absolutely cook. And then Lazard potentially being out is great for Adams and for Wilson. But I don't know, man. I just feel like they're going to give him a game, and May's going to have to get it done on the other end. But I'm totally with you. He's probably outside of people's top 24 because of this Jets matchup, but I think he could easily finish in the top 15, top 12 at quarterback.
Jay, I had one more, but I didn't put it on the list. I had one more, but I didn't put it on the list. I just have a feeling, Jay. It's in my bones, Jay Rich, in a difficult matchup. But having Jonathan Taylor back, I am not out. I am still, Jay, still I rise. I am still here. Anthony
Oh, my
Richardson.
God.
I will not quit. I'm not going to quit. I'm not quitting A-Rich. Division game, right?
All right.
You know, it's a division game.
That's it? You got division game? That's the best you could give me? His
They are
division
5
game.
point
Oh,
dogs.
that's right.
They're 5-point dogs. But you get JT coming back is going to open up things in this running game. I'm not quitting A-Rich. I'm not quitting A-Rich. Even in a difficult matchup, I think he can find success against this Houston Texans defense. It does look like they are going to get Will Anderson. Now, there were some questions. Would he play or not in this matchup? But Houston's offense without Nico Collins,
Awful.
I don't. This might be a ground game. I think it's going to be a lot of running. The Colts can run the ball. Texans can run the ball with Joe Mixon. And I do think Anthony Richardson can find some success on the ground. A very not so obvious one, but I might fire him up in a couple of spots, Jay.
All right, Ray. So let's give some more context to this. For everyone who doesn't remember, week 1, what did he do? He threw that 65-yard nuke to none other than Antoine Pierce. Went 9 for 19, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. His highest output in fantasy, period, especially passing the ball this season, was week 1 against the Houston Texans, and he was knocked out of that game early. So I am with you. I thought about making him my not so obvious start, but I didn't want the ramifications of that on this show.
You are cowardly.
I am a coward. I'm such a coward. I took Trevor Lawrence instead.
Colin talking shit. Ray gonna die on the A-Rich Hill. Xavier
It's not a bad.
laughing
It's
at
not
me.
a bad. It's not a bad
Richie
show.
saying
I
that
like it.
feeling is gas. Garrison saying I'm beamed up. Fade Ray Friday. Y'all wild, man. Y'all, you can't
It's not
be
bad.
scared, Jay.
I like
You
it.
gotta let it rip.
I
Let me
like
ask you
it.
this.
It was one of his best games.
Spencer Rattler or Anthony Richardson?
I'm starting A-Rich, especially
Gardner-
against the Chargers. I mean,
Gardner
come on.
Minshew or Anthony Richardson?
Anthony Richardson.
Okay, let me keep it. Baker
Yeah, let's
Mayfield
do
in
it.
this one. Baker or A-Rich? Come on, Baker or A-Rich?
Oh man, Baker.
Bryce.
I said I
You're
want to
lying.
start Baker.
You're lying.
I said I want to start
Bryce
Baker
Young,
this
A-Rich.
week.
Bryce A-Rich.
A-Rich. I mean, come on,
Mariota
what are we
A-Rich.
doing? A-Rich.
Anybody on Tennessee or Anthony Richardson?
A-Rich. You're
All right, final
literally
one.
talking about the
Hold
worst
on.
quarterbacks in the league.
No, he clearly ain't. Cleveland, Jameis Winston or Anthony Richardson? There's the last one.
A-Rich.
Okay.
I'm not trusting him, but once you get to
But
Goff,
yes, I would
you
start
start
him on
Kirk
that, but I
Cousins
don't
over
trust-
A-Rich?
Yeah, let's go running backs. Let's go RBs.
All right.
This one makes no sense to me, Jay. Like, if people aren't firing up this running back this week
Oh, okay.
with full
Yeah.
effing confidence, drop him, trade him, get him off your roster. He was outside when Josh and I did the ranks on Wednesday. He was outside the top 15. I think he was like RB 15 on the week. Javonte Williams. I mean, it's wheels up season, Jay Rich, for Javonte versus in this matchup versus Carolina at home, 10.5 point favorites, 41.5 point total. Jay Rich, I really don't know what else needs to be said. If Javonte Williams does not succeed in this matchup, then it was because of Sean Shenanigans not playing him. But it is not about the matchup because this is the worst defense through 8 games in NFL history. We talk about it all the time. You literally can start first and second string running backs against Carolina, fire up every pass catcher that you have. You talk about a not so obvious start. Bo Nix or A-Rich. I'd probably start Bo Nix over A-Rich. Bo Nix or A-Rich.
Yeah, it's tough to your point because
This is the worst defense in the ever in the of all of footballs. In every football that has ever been played, this is the worst through 8 weeks.
Yeah, but do you think Bo's going to run for like 50 yards to kind of
Yes.
save his fantasy
Yeah, I
day
do.
again? That's my only concern.
He's going to run. His rushing attempt line is probably 8.5 right now.
Probably something like that. But yeah, Javonte Williams minus 115 to score. Bo Nix's rushing yards, they're right around 30, which is pretty good for a quarterback. Javonte Williams 63.5. So everything's kind of lining up. But yeah, so this is what I wanted to ask you. Would you start a Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime, who saw some limited work last week against the Saints? Because that was the thing. We're starting Javonte, but would you potentially flex in some deeper formats some of the ancillary running backs for the Denver Broncos? And then I did want to ask you about Chuba Hubbard.
Maybe. I just, it's Javonte. That's the one that I want. Sure. I saw you have Jaleel on the bottom of the list. It's really Javonte
As a
for
maybe,
me.
yeah.
I think that is, I don't know. Before we did the show, I think ECR was RB 17 on the week.
Yeah.
17?
Ridiculous.
What are we
It's
doing,
ridiculous.
man?
Especially
What are we
this
doing?
week. So what do you do with
Especially this
Chuba,
week.
though? I got to ask you about Chuba. Chuba with Bryce Young is horrible. Not decent, horrible, terrible. And the
I had him
Broncos are one of the
outside
best
my
defenses
top
in the
20
league.
this week. I love Chuba Hubbard. This is if I'm Denver and they get Patrick Surtain back this week, no Deontay Johnson, we might only run one defensive back on the field. We'll just put a single high safety, crowd the line,
Yeah.
Javonte Williams. You can't beat Chuba. You won't beat us. Bryce can't complete a pass. I don't really feel good
And
about him this
Surtain's
week.
back this week, too.
That's what I said. They're not going to be able to
Yeah.
throw this. I don't feel good about him this week. Another running back that we have is a not so obvious start, and at cost, I mean, he's running just as much as the starter, and they're getting their big dog back. Raheem Mostert in this matchup this weekend. Devon Achane and Mostert both had, I believe, 15 carries last game. Both were pretty good. Again, no Tua, so you kind of take it with a grain of salt. But Tua gets back in. Immediately, Vegas says 46-point total with the Dolphins favored by 4 in this matchup. Arizona Cardinals have played a little bit better defensively the past couple of weeks, but still, the advantage all leans in Miami's favor. And even if Tua isn't a rock star, what he's going to do is open things up for the offense. I think Tyreek Hill is a smash play on the week. I saw Hayden Winks have him as wide receiver 2, but I think Mostert at cost and where he's at is a very good play this week versus Arizona at home.
Yeah, I love Mostert. Both Mostert and Achane should be great. They want to protect Tua.
RB31 consensus. Wow. I got him top 24.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you bring up is, yes, last week they did deploy both running backs and they had no quarterback, but that's kind of how this team wants to play regardless, right? It doesn't really matter if Tua is there. They will throw the ball, but at the same time, they do deploy both running backs a lot, and I think both can find tons of success. Mostert always is kind of the forgotten man because of Achane, but he's also the guy who tends to score more touchdowns as well. So I'm with you. I think this Miami offense is going to be great. The Arizona offense should be great as well on the other side, especially running the football. But yeah, this should be a great spot for Miami. I love pretty much everyone that you're going to start in this game.
All right, let's talk about another running back. Expert consensus ranks has this player at RB 51 on the week right now. And we talked about his running mate earlier. But Sean Tucker, Jay Rich, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home against the Atlanta Falcons. 46-point total in this one. And you know what? Tampa Bay favored by 1.5 in this matchup. So Vegas saying that they're still going to score close to 24 points in this game. 1.5-point favorites or 23 points, 1.5-point favorites. No Mike Evans. We know what's going on with Chris Godwin. And you talked about Bucky Irving potentially being in. So let me preface this by saying, if Bucky is out, I would play Sean Tucker. If Bucky is out, I would play Sean Tucker in a spot, not even like a flex option, like I'm playing him. If Bucky is in and he's going to be limited or whatever, I still think without the receivers on the field, Tucker is a desperation sort of flex play. Like I wouldn't want to do it with Bucky on the field, but they didn't lie. All 3 running backs were involved last week, and a lot of people look at the box score and be like, well, Rachaad White still led in this, and he got a lot of that shit in the fourth quarter. He and Bucky both scored late as they were trying to come back. If Bucky's out, I'm rolling Sean Tucker in. If he is playing, then depending on what your other flex options are, he's a desperation play.
Yeah, I kind of like him regardless. You look at what this team needs to do, and they need to utilize their best players, and right now that's their running backs. And so that's where when you say, how are they going to find success against this Atlanta team? It's going to be running the football, swing passes, short passes to the running backs. Like whether it's Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, or Sean Tucker, I kind of like all of them to do a little bit in this game. If Bucky doesn't play, obviously that only has more upside for Tucker, but I do think that Baker's best asset is the running backs right now. I think Liam Cohen knows that. I think the receivers are too inexperienced to really pass on this secondary, and I think that's going to pose some problems with the 2 safeties they have back there. They're not going to know the coverages that are going to be coming from Atlanta, and so I do think it will be a lot of the running backs if they're going to succeed in this game. I'm surprised they're favored, but I do think that they will use these running backs quite a bit.
I'm a little surprised they're favored as well. What's up, D-Bro? D-Bro in the building.
Let's
Shout
go,
out to
D-Bro.
my dog, D-Bro. Does great work over at Fantasy Pros. It's my dog, D-Bro. The last not so obvious RB start of the week. This is your guy. I am not. Maybe this is just my bias showing, Jay, because I just do not. I have little confidence in the offense. But talk to us about Rico Dowdle and the Dallas Cowboys.
So the big thing here for me, right, is Rico Dowdle is a player that traditionally you don't want to be starting. And especially when you look at this offense, the way they've been playing. But I've talked about this pretty much all week. I do think this Dallas Cowboys team is going to be a lot different out of the bye. And we saw this last season as well. They made up a lot of adjustments. They started throwing the ball a lot more. And I think that only lends itself more to what Rico Dowdle can do very well. He's not going to do a ton on the ground. But for me, it's more so, can he get involved as a pass catcher, catching up in games? You look at the game against New Orleans, he caught 4 passes for 29 yards. You look at the game against Detroit, he caught 5 passes for 30 yards. And I think if you're talking about a flexible running back who has potential to score a touchdown, he would be that guy. The 49ers have allowed a rushing touchdown almost every single game this season, 0.9 per game. So with that, I think that they're going to be down. I think San Fran probably gets up on them early. Rico Dowdle will catch some passes in the catch-up game and will score a touchdown as well. So I think when you look at Dallas, you look at their bad offense and how they're playing, I'm okay with that because I know that CeeDee Lamb's going to get the ball, and I think Rico Dowdle will as well coming out of the bye.
Derek Brown said, love you guys. Best morning show out, no doubt. Much love, D-Bro.
Thank you, D-Bro. D-Bro says Dallas is going to beat San Fran. Oh, boy.
Micah's still not practicing. I think he's going to be a game time call.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. The vibes around here are not positive. I'll just say that. The vibes aren't positive. I don't know about Rico Dowdle, but he's going to have some opportunity. We'll see how that thing plays out, Jay. Any other running backs you want to touch on? I know we kind of did this earlier yesterday, so if anybody has popped late, is there anybody else you want to discuss? JT back, no Goodson, no Sermon. JT back, no Goodson, no Sermon. Zamir White, no thank you, versus Kansas City. What a bust.
Alexander Madison, no thanks.
Yeah, and I want to play Madison. I pumped him up last week because he's looked good the past, but you can't do it versus Kansas City. My final player I want to ask you about from the RBs, consensus ranks right now, RB 61, Travis Etienne. If he's good to go, I think he got a limited practice in. I think he got a limited one in. So
he did get a limited practice in. If he's active, I would start him. I really would.
How does that impact Tank? How does that impact Bigsby?
I don't think it impacts him a ton. It's just I think Etienne's the better pass catcher, right? So if my game plan is to attack the pass catchers for the Jacksonville Jaguars, start Trevor Lawrence, I would take the better pass catching running back, and that's Travis Etienne.
All right.
Even if he doesn't run between the tackles, I'm not so concerned about that. But I'd start him. I'd start him 100%. 100%.
100%. All right, Jay. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Not so obvious wide receiver plays on the week, and let's start this thing off with a player versus the Seattle Seahawks ECR wide receiver 54 prior to the show. But I want to talk about one Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills, who had a big week last week. We know what happened. He had the big play. But I've really liked the usage of Keon Coleman and what the Buffalo Bills are doing with him. They bring Amari Cooper in, and we talked about this on the last show, Jay. The parallels are just strikingly similar. Dallas Cowboys a few years ago, they drafted a wide receiver that was talented but needed some development in Michael Gallup. And they tried to Gallup out there and thought Gallup could be the wide receiver one. By week 4, they realized, oh no, we need to go get a proper outside wide receiver. Dallas Cowboys trade for Amari Cooper, and the rest was history, right? Buffalo Bills draft Keon Coleman, very talented player, not all the way there. A couple of weeks into the season, they realize, we need a guy. So whenever a team needs a guy, they go trade for Amari Cooper. They go trade for Cooper. It helped Gallup out. And I do think this will have a similar type of impact for Keon Coleman. So we're going to pull up the Trinity. Pull up the Trinity tool. This is the best usage tool out there. We don't claim to have all the data. We use data. But the way we put it together, nobody does it better. So if you want a tool that really visualizes how all that shit people talk about, yards per route run, first read, target share, what does all these numbers mean? Follow the dots, baby. The dots let you know what all of it means. And then you look over the past 2 weeks, look at the usage. You got to kind of throw Amari Cooper out because he wasn't there. There's Dalton Kincaid getting a lot of usage, but not getting it done for us for fantasy. And there's Keon Coleman above the trend line, inside the threshold, 5.73, 11 fantasy points per game. I like the way he's trending. I do not like the way Khalil Shakir is trending back. But even though he's moving back, y'all stick around. Y'all trust the Trinity. He's above the line, and that lets you know he's got a very good quarterback. I think Keon Coleman is a viable play this week, especially in a game where they're favored by what? What's the total in that one? Buffalo, Seattle?
This one is 46.5. They are favored by 3, it looks like, on the road.
Yeah, 46.5. There's going to be some points scored there. I like Keon Coleman as a not-so-obvious wide receiver start this week. My favorite play, though, man, and it gets better as Flowers is not healthy, and we want Zay Flowers to be there. But it is happening. Rashad Bateman, Shoddy B, Jay Rich, ECR right now, wide receiver 52 before the show. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 52. We want Zay Flowers in the game, no doubt about it. But if he's not, I still feel very good that we potentially are going to have be just fine with Rashad Bateman if he has to fill in as the starting guy. And we're going to pull up the usage tool again and look at Baltimore over the past 2 weeks. Numero uno. I never thought I'd see a world where Rashad Bateman was this high. It's the last 2 weeks, 7.79 score. This is high-end wide receiver usage, typically yielding 16 fantasy points per game. You also see Mark Andrews right there. Here is Zay Flowers. So if you remove Zay, we're probably going to talk about him. I do think this is a spot where likely can bump up and get some of that usage. Big gap between there. What's the total in that one? That's my only fear, is that they don't need to throw the ball a ton, because we've been talking.
Favored by 8. So decent total, but that's because Baltimore puts up a lot of points.
Yeah, favored by 8, though. And we keep talking about this with Lamar. As great as he's been, he's doing it efficiently. He ain't throwing the ball 50 times, 45 times. He's getting you 27 pass attempts and 11 touchdowns on those. So you just hope you got the player who scored the touchdown. Jay, I've got this name on the list, but I want you to talk about him a little bit, because I think you brought him up, and we're going to look at the Trinity here. But, hey, are you trusting it with Denver Broncos, not running back, but wide receiver, Troy Franklin? Jay, how you feeling about Troy Franklin as a not-so-obvious wide receiver play this week?
Yeah, Ray, I think you have to trust what we've seen over the past few weeks. And this is where you don't want to talk about the narrative, but Troy Franklin right now versus Carolina, worst defense in the league, pass defense, rush defense, doesn't really matter. Wide receiver 64 in ECR. But recently, Ray, he's been getting more involved in the offense. And I don't want to say, well, he's playing with his college quarterback, but God damn it, it seems like it matters.
College quarterback.
We're coming off a game where Courtland Sutton saw 0 targets. There's no doubt in my mind Courtland Sutton is a way more talented wide receiver than Troy Franklin, but it is Troy Franklin, Ray, with a near 6 Trinity score, which basically puts him in that starter range and means we should be looking at him in fantasy. And when you have a matchup against the Carolina Panthers, you got a 6 Trinity score. He's the number 1 wide receiver on Denver over the past 2 weeks in terms of the Trinity score. So you have to start Troy Franklin. I like Courtland Sutton, but the data's telling me start Troy Franklin.
Let me pull it back a couple of more weeks. Just to, let's get a bigger picture of this, just to see where Denver's offense is. Is Franklin inside? He's right there. This is good.
He's ascending, though.
This is ascending. This is good. I'm with you. I think he is one of those guys. You talked about the past 2 weeks, the usage. All this tool is doing is putting all that shit together to say that he's been asked to do a little more wide receiver shit than Courtland Sutton. And we know Sutton's down there with the goose egg. He hadn't done anything. But next up is Devon Vele. So, yeah, I think he is a fine flex play on the week. Jay, you threw one in here, man. Sneak in and drop this one, big dog. I don't even have a graphic for
him. So the guy that I really want to trust in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is actually Sterling Shepard. If I was ranking the wide receivers to start in these matchups, it'd be Sterling Shepard, then Jalen McLaughlin. Jalen McMillan. I'm still on Denver, apparently. Jalen McMillan, and then it would be Trey Palmer. And the reason why is because when you are a wide receiver who is operating next to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and still seeing targets, that matters to me. When you look at the Trinity and the data, it's not going to be very good for pretty much any of these players because Godwin and Mike Evans are such dominant wide receivers. But the fact that Shepard, with these two players on the team, was still playing and getting targets, I think the rapport with Baker is there both in practice and in games, and he would be the wide receiver you want to start from this team. As much as everyone wants to talk about the younger guys, Shepard is the dude who's actually been seeing targets in this offense, and I think is the better start overall for fantasy football.
This is a hard one, man. I'll just say this. This is a difficult one, but I don't hate this, Jay Rich. When I wanted to just zoom out. The full season picture, right? The full season, not the last 2 weeks, not the last 3 weeks, but the full season picture to see if we can find anything out from here. So we were looking at the usage of the Bucs. Chris Godwin, just elite shit on the season, right? Leading the way. Got Mike Evans next up. Then we've got Cade Otton next up. And then after this is why I don't care who it is. You are still kind of just wish casting, and it's an educated guess. But here's how those three wide receivers have been used this year. They're all right there, Jay. They're Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, technically used more, but it's all the same. Sterling Shepard outproducing his poor usage. So when they give him chances, he's doing well. And then third on the usage pecking order, just holistically throughout the season, is Trey Palmer. So it's usage-wise, it's McMillan, it's Shepard, it's Palmer. You segmented over the past 2 weeks. Let's just see. Let's go week 6 and week 7 and see what that looks like. So we're going to adjust, and that's still Godwin. That's still Otton. That's still Mike. Sterling Shepard leading the way. He's ahead of those guys.
Because past 2 weeks, he's only one been playing, right?
But look at how much
he's been hurt.
Shit is absent now. Like, this is all gone. So there's probably a chance that all three of these guys find success at some point in time over the season. I think that is probably the level-headed approach.
Outside, right? And the safety's over the top. So the most viable spot is probably whoever's in that slot role for Tampa Bay.
I don't even think it's that. I just think you're eliminating all of this, so everything else is just byproduct you're going to drag it up, regardless if you like it or not. If you've got any of the three, I'm playing any of the three, to be honest with you. All right, Jay.
Would you really?
We don't know. Like, we really don't know. We're trying to guess. We're trying to figure it out, but none of us really know. So if I've got one, if you need the play, if you picked them up off waivers, then you needed the play. Take your pick. Take your pick. All wide receiver spots are open. Take your pick. Take your freaking pick. Go ahead and talk about your boy, though. I know you want to run this one. Run it. The people want it too, so go ahead and give it to him.
I had to talk about him because I've talked about this game multiple times on this show already. You have to start Dontavian Wicks. I don't care what he did last week. I don't care what he did 3 weeks ago. I don't care if he got one reception last game. He is going to see opportunity in this matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense cannot contain anybody, right? You and I could be running routes out there. As long as Jordan Love is the quarterback and Matt LaFleur is the OC, we can score touchdowns. So the Jags defense is simply just too bad, and you have to start every single player. And I think those shot plays that we see from LaFleur almost every single week are going to be plentiful and converting in this matchup. I wouldn't be scared off by Wicks. It probably will be lower volume than you're hoping for, but I think the touchdown upside is always going to be there for every single player in this Green Bay offense.
Yeah, Green Bay, I'm trying to pull them up real quick. I want to see what they've been looking like the past. Man, Romeo Doubs. Wow.
Yeah, you better start Romeo Doubs.
Real quick, because I just love talking through this shit and looking at it, because visually, we're humans, right? Like, when you see something, it affects you a little differently than when you read about it or you see it. But when you see that, like, the gap in the way that teams are using players, it's fascinating, man. And it makes you just wonder what goes on in these offenses for these things to happen. So here go Green Bay. This is Green Bay on the screen, Jay Rich. Green Bay. You got a dot way up here at the top, two kind of in this middle range, and then two back here. I will give you $50, give you $100 right here on a Friday, $100 Friday. Give me the names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. Give me the names. Go. Who's
I
that?
would say it's Dobbs there.
Ding. All right, you're 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Who's right here?
I would say that one is probably Kraft.
No
Okay,
$100.
Wicks.
Dante
I was
and
gonna say it was Kraft and Wicks. It's
Wicks,
Christian Watson. All right.
Watson.
I know that Reed's been rough.
Kraft.
What is this? Past 2 weeks?
Reed. Past 2 weeks. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Reed's been struggling.
It's how they're using them. We talk about this on the Sunday recap show. They're sending him in motion. They're doing this orbit shit with him, putting him in the backfield, but he's not getting down the field. They're not throwing it to him down the field. I'm looking at LaFleur like, get
He did have
Reed
the one. Remember, he had the one deep target, but he dropped it.
Yes. I'm not factoring. That factors in. That deep target and those air yards are in that score, but I want him to be used more. Like they're just not using him down the field. They're really prioritizing Dobbs. This is wild to see, but you just look at this chart and I'll just tell you right off the bat, without hovering over a name, all this does is tell me that this quarterback is freaking good. Everybody above the line. Look at how shitty this is. Y'all want to see something pathetic? We're not even going to do it. I'm not going to depress the people of those fan bases today. Jay, you had Tyler Lockett as well as one of your not so obvious starts of the week. So you like Lockett, no DK.
Yeah.
I
Shallow
like Lockett
formats.
too, man.
Start
I like
Lockett,
Lockett.
man.
I like
it's,
I don't know if it's even, I think, a regular format. You might not like his name. Dynasty value, trade market, none of that shit. But DK is out. It's going to be Lockett, Walker. We've got a tight end we're probably going to talk about here, Noah Fant, in a second. But I like Lockett. I like the call.
Yeah, and Debro said it in the chat too. Like, I think Buffalo can blow out Seattle, even on the road, right?
Really?
Like, it's, yeah.
Blow them out?
I think that Buffalo can put up a crooked number on this Seattle defense because Seattle's defense is not very good. And the bigger thing here, and the reason why you want to look at Seattle often, is because they are still the most pass-heavy team in the NFL. I believe they still lead the league in pass attempts. Playing catch-up, put Geno over 40 attempts, and all these guys are going to eat, especially with DK out.
Yeah.
He is a pretty obvious start. It's just if people were thinking about not starting him, because I feel like people aren't in on Lockett starting him every week. Last week, there was a bunch of pushback for starting Lockett.
Because people don't like Lockett. Everybody is busting the nut over JSN's empty calorie targets on a weekly basis. If Reek Woolen and Trey Brown are back, I don't know if they're blowing them out. It's a 3-point game. They're 3-point dogs at home, 46.5 point total. I think Seattle could score on Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo's defense is any.
Their rush defense is awful.
Is any stalwart. I think I've got Ken Walker RB1 on the week. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not really.
I thought about putting Charbonnet in the not so obvious starts, but the volume hasn't quite been there for Charbonnet.
It's all Ken Walker. Yeah, it's all Ken Walker.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to tight ends. Wrap this up with an awful position, but we got a couple of players who have been playing well for us. And again, how is this player not a top 10 tight end on the week? Like, what are we doing? Hunter Henry. I mean, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? How is he outside of the top 12 tight ends in the NFL for fantasy football when over the past 2 weeks, he has been not just the primary target earner for the New England Patriots. Like, he is the guy. And we know Pop Douglas was out for a week, so Pop would be back. Well, he wasn't out, but he was injured or sick. Excuse me, he was sick. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like with Pop back. But just looking at Hunter Henry in New England with Drake May, look at this, man. 6.63 score. Good. 15 points a game over the past 2 weeks. There goes Pop right there. Even with pretty much a 0, Pop still within threshold range. Really like Pop. And this just highlights the environmental change with Drake May. This is the New England Patriots pass catchers the past 2 weeks with Drake May. Look at what this shit looked like with Jacoby Brissett. Look at this. Just keep this mental image in your head. Oh, man, above the line, high up. This makes me feel good. Yeah, you feel good. Make me feel. Look at this. I mean, blast Jacoby Brissett into the sun. Just get him out of here. Drake May, I'm firing him up. I'm stacking him. Triple stack this week versus the Jets. Give me 3 pieces of meat on that burger, Jay Rich. 3. The 3 meat patty is obnoxious. Just for anybody. The double patty is as far as you can go. If you triple patty, you are a psychopath. Do you 3 meat burger? Have you had 3 patties on a burger, Jay? Don't lie to me.
I have never had 3 patties on a burger, but I was
Have you
also
had
thinking
2?
that's a great analogy for condoms as well.
Have-
But yeah, so I've never had 3. Have you had 3? That's just too big. How are you getting
it's
out of
too
your
much
mouth?
meat, man.
Pause.
That's too much
Wow.
going on in the mouth, bro. I
Too
can't.
much meat. Too
That's
much meat for that mouth.
That's
Yeah.
too much meat
Pause.
for old GQ's mouth.
What?
All right. What are we talking about? Hunter Henry. Yeah. I like Hunter Henry this week, Jay. Who do you got?
I got Noah Fant, right? 4+ targets each of the last 2 games, 60+ yards. DK probably going to be out again. I will take 10 fantasy points for my tight end. I just think it's a good spot, and I think they're probably going to be playing catch-up in this game as well. So I really like Noah Fant. I think he's in a great spot, and I think he is going to have a great game against the Buffalo Bills.
Debro said, can we talk about the continued Cole Kmet disrespect? Yeah, he looked damn good prior to the bye. I'll just say in that final game, very well executed screen in which he scored, rumbling down the field. But another one of his long plays, he was like the 5th read. Caleb had scrambled around and found him. And then I believe his other 2 receptions went for a grand total of like 8 yards. So what I like about Kmet is they're not effing around with Gerald Everett anymore. And hopefully coming out of the bye, just give me 6 Kmet targets a week. If you tell me Kel Kmet's going to get 6 to 7 targets, I'd be fine with that. You think that's a little too high? I want too much?
Not that I think it's too high. It's just this is the problem with this offense. Even Keenan Allen is a player you're kind of like, do I start him? Is he going to get 5 targets? So you're asking about 6 targets for Kmet. That would be not a season high because he'd have 11 against Indy, but that would be the second most targets he had all year. He's never had more than 5 outside of that week 3 game against Indianapolis. So he's like in that weird spot where when you get 5 targets for a tight end, it's probably good enough, but you kind of just hope you can find a little bit more in this offense. So this is where I like Caleb Williams, but anyone outside of DJ Moore feels like you're just doing too much when you're talking about Keenan Allen, even Romo Dunze, who I love this week as a not so obvious start, but it's just, is he going to see more than 4 targets in this game? I don't know.
Caleb Williams has been good. Past 3 games has been very good.
And Washington's defense is mediocre.
And it's
getting better, but
we're not getting Jaden, are we? Jaden's not playing, is he?
He's going to try and practice today, and we will see. That's the report. They held him out all week. They're going to see how he feels today, and then they will make a decision onto his status for Sunday.
All right, last tight end, and if Zay Flowers is out, you're going to fire up Mark Andrews, but I also believe Isaiah Likely is in play in this matchup as well. So just continue to monitor that. They said high ankle sprain, mid-high ankle sprain or mild high ankle sprain. That doesn't sound good. And for a player like Flowers, whose game is predicated on quick twitch, movement, yak, stuff like that, hopefully he gets better. Hopefully he is well. Jay, we had some super chats and some comments that I pinned that we want to hit before we get out of here. But are there any other players that you wanted to talk about that may, somebody said Hunter Henry or Cole Kmet? I would start Hunter Henry over Kmet, but I like both of them. I really do. I like Kmet on the week, but I've got Henry rated a little higher than that. What was I doing? What am I looking for?
I don't know what you're looking for. You asked me about players I would think about starting. Alec Pierce was a player that I did think about in the matchup once again against Houston. We saw him get deep on them before, and I don't mind it as well. Another player that I thought about was Michael Wilson, but I just don't know about Arizona, man. The weird thing about Miami is they've actually been one of the better pass defenses over the past few weeks, but maybe that's because they don't have Tua, so they're not forcing teams to score a lot of points, throw over a lot of yards, and they are awful on the ground. Like, they're terrible against the run. So it's kind of that weird paradox that we see with Carolina at times. They don't allow a ton of yards, but that's because their rushing defense is so bad. So it's interesting when you talk about both those players. Marvin Harrison Jr., we had a question about him, and I even don't feel great about him. And then obviously I like Seattle quite a bit.
Dude.
Stinky.
Marv, how do you
Stinky
feel?
Marv.
D-Bro's in the building. You and D-Bro battling all damn summer. Marv versus Malik.
Oh, I'm getting crushed right now. Are you kidding me? I'm getting killed right now.
Who?
Me?
Oh, I know. D-Bro's nailed Watson. He
nailed Watson.
He nailed Watson. We're right there with neighbors. Hey, Jay Rich, you better get it together, baby. All right.
Me?
Let's have some fun before we get out of here. This is unplanned, unscripted, and we are 10 minutes over. But there was a 2-round 2025 NFL mock dropped yesterday by the 33rd team. You want to just go through a couple of players quickly? I'm going to end up breaking down this mock after Saturday. All right, 22 round, and we're only going through one round. Your New England Patriots had the number 1 overall pick. Who did they take?
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Or Will Campbell.
Hunter,
Okay. I'll take
number
Travis
1
Hunter.
overall to the New England Patriots. I like the pick. What does he play, corner or receiver?
I think he plays both for the Pats, honestly.
Both. All right. Cleveland Browns at 3. Get their quarterback of the future. Who was it?
I don't even know. Was it Shedeur Sanders?
Just don't overthink it. Shedeur Sanders. I said this on X, talked about it in our Discord. If I'm Cleveland, I bypass QB. I take Will Campbell. We bypass quarterback, kick the can. We got to restart this thing. All right, I'm just going offensive, guys. All right, number 8, the Raiders. Get their quarterback. Who is it?
Oh, God. Is it Carson Beck?
No, Cam Ward to the Raiders.
Oh,
number 9 overall, the Giants get their quarterback of the future, and this is the stone worst pick in this mock.
Oh, this is the one where they took Drew Allar, right?
Drew Allar at 9 overall for the Giants. No, thank you. Ooh, Will Johnson to the Rams at 11. Nice for the Rams.
Wow.
Let's go down. All right, the Chargers. Chargers go wide receiver. I talked about, didn't I say, hold on. Didn't I say that they needed a true primary number 1 guy? They need somebody. Lad's really good, but they got a receiver. You know who they took?
Hopefully it's Ted McMillan and not
fucking
Luther
Isaiah
Burton.
Bond. The same thing that they kind of already have. I like Bond, but I like Bond.
Was he the first wide receiver taken?
Not in this. Oh, they don't even push the ball downfield.
But they can with Bond. It opens up for McConkey. You got the tight ends. They run the ball.
Get Bond in a different offense. I don't want Bond in LA. All right, Dallas at 16.
Ashton Genty.
Awful.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Love my Cowboys. I don't want to waste Genty in Dallas. We want Genty on a good offense. All right, let's go through the rest of this. Who else? What other offensive Denver Broncos go wide out.
Well, is Ted gone yet?
He has not been picked.
Then it has to be Ted.
Luther Burden, 22. The Pittsburgh Steelers go wide out.
That's got to be Ted.
Ted McMillan.
Because, of course, he ends up in Pittsburgh.
With George
and he's going to be
Pickens.
like the wide receiver 1 after that.
Of course he ends up in Pittsburgh.
What a ridiculous wide receiver core that would be.
All right, the last offensive player in the first round, and then we'll wrap up the show. Kansas City Chiefs. Who'd they take?
They got to take a receiver. No. I don't know who it would be, though.
No.
They go running back?
No. Kelsey replacement.
They wouldn't take a... Oh, did they take the Michigan tight end?
Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Yep. Colston Loveland to KC at 32.
Yeah.
So
he's a really good tight end, though.
They got a whole second round, and second round's even doper. Some of these landing spots, they're just too many. Oh, my God. Oh, my.
Is your boy Tez in there?
Omarion Hampton to Houston.
That would be good. But what if Joe Mixon's still there, though?
Harold Fannin Jr. to the... All right, I will be breaking down this mock after Saturday. It'll be ready, mock draft Monday. Love college, love rookies, love the NFL, love football, and we love all of you. Thank you.
Super chats.
Super chats. Damn, I was...
Jimbo's got you. I was
feeling good.
You've been too distracted. I figured I'd interrupt you before you got going.
I was ready to go. Super chats. We got one from Matt. Shout out to Matt. Appreciate you, big dog. GMGP, 1 QB, non-tight end premium. 1 QB, non-tight end premium, start 7. Traded JSN Kyle Pitts in a projected 25, 101, 105, 106, and the 27 second for Marv, Jalen Polk, Roman Wilson. Team is now JD5, Bijan, Brooks, Marv, Neighbors, Rice, Dell, Downs, and Ferg. What do you think about this, Jay?
JSN Pitts and a mid-first for Marv and Polk?
And Roman Wilson. So really, it's a start 7. I don't really give a shit about JSN. I don't really give a shit in a start 7. I don't really care.
But Marv isn't really startable in a start 7. That's the problem.
Needs Marv to be good. To be good.
I like the bet,
I don't play in a lot of start 7 leagues, but I just know from listening to my Dynasty Trades in 5 crew, you want hammers. I want as many hard-hitting hammers as possible, and the bet on Marvin Harrison Jr. becoming that. Kyler's already acknowledged that they need to get on the same page.
Yeah.
Go, baby. All right. Rice got some shit for the future right there. Appreciate you, Matt. Jimbo, Chase Brown, Mooney, Sutton, need one PPR. Not Sutton. And here's the thing. Sutton could score, and it's not that I hate Sutton. I just don't trust Bo Nix in the Denver offense. So what I would do, and Josh Norris said this as well, whenever I'm in between two players, I go look at the total. What game is projected to score more points? Atlanta's matchup versus Tampa or Cincinnati versus Philly? And I think it's Cincy-Philly.
Cincy Philly's at 48, second highest on the week, and Chase Brown is a player I do really like this week.
Yeah, I like him
I think
too.
he can have a really good week against Philly. And the rush defense for Philly has been decent, but I think Chase Brown can just catch some passes and make some things happen. And I don't know what it is about Atlanta. I just don't trust them in this game. I don't think they're going to play very well. I really don't. Like, why aren't they favored in this game by more points?
Yeah.
It's only 2.5 right now, and it
should probably
be
weird
more
that they're
than
not
that.
favored with no Godwin, no Evans, potentially no damn Bucky Irving.
They
Why
are
aren't
on
they
and they're
favored?
on the road too, which again we'll see. They should play very well, but I'm a little bit
You should
nervous.
go put
so
some
Chase
money
Brown
on Atlanta.
will be the one
And
for me.
plus, you should put some money on them to cover. You should take the points.
No, they're favored. They're favored by 2.
They are favored. Oh, you're saying Tampa Bay?
Yeah,
Okay.
2.5. Yeah,
All right.
I kind
Drew-
of like Tampa to cover at home.
All right, Drew, what's up, baby? $9 super chat. Appreciate you paying up because I was wrong about Terry. Love you guys. Hey, man, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank goodness we don't have to pay up whenever we're wrong, or else we would have no money. We are all wrong together, Drew, but we love you. We appreciate your support, my guy, and thank you for the super chat. All right, Jay, hit the music now. Hit the music now.
There you go.
Get out of here. Leave y'all with this note. Jimbo said, don't ever over meat it. For those of y'all who were here for the triple meat conversation, no triple patties around here. Not on Wake Up. Not Ray, not Jay. We don't do that shit on a Friday. All right, Jay.
Yes, Jimbo. Chase Brown.
Yeah, Chase Brown. Did we not answer?
I thought we did, but he asked it again in the chat, so I figured
Wrap
I'd
us
clarify.
up, baby. Wrap us up.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in this week. I hope that you enjoy week 8. Of course, Ray and I will be back on Monday to recap the entire slate of games. And he said he's going to be doing a full recap of this 33rd team 2-round mock draft. So make sure you tap in, like the content, subscribe, and check out the Dynasty Trade Show, which will be dropping tomorrow. Thank you, D-Bro. We love you too, and we love everybody who tunes in each and every show in the chat. And we'll see you guys next week. We're out. Peace.
Peace.